Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to the Bricks King podcast, where I'm going to bend your ear about Lego, review those amazing bricks of plastic, and discuss what is new and up-and-coming around the Lego world. I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's bet on it. Welcome in, everybody. How are we doing? Episode 225 today, and today we are talking about the new, latest, and greatest thing that is coming out tomorrow? 2 days from now? 2 days from now. I've got my dates wrong. Today's the 27th. We're doing the recording of this. Anyway, we're talking about Lego City Space. Lego City Space. It's kind of weird, you know, to have space under Lego City. Like it's not even its own category anymore. But this is different. This is not like classic space. This is not like any other space. It's not your dad's space, your grandfather's space, your space. It's a brand new space. And what I mean by that is all of these sets are intended to be close or representations of the new lunar project through NASA, where they plan on launching the Artemis program to land on the moon again in the future. But it seems to be a little more intense, actually. And I think it's really, really kind of neat to have these vehicles and the bases and the rockets and all that kind of stuff. So that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm really, really looking forward to these. I will tell you right now, it has been a long time since I have had so much fun putting city sets together like this. The last wave of space definitely was not on my list of, this is amazing. It was more along the line of, well, it's good, but it left a lot to be desired, in my opinion. This seems to squash all of that. Now, maybe because it has to do with the NASA and Artemis and stuff, but we'll get into it. But alas, let's move on to the very first thing, the Lunar Roving Vehicle 60348. By the way, all of these are going to be available March 1st, if you are wondering. I did get those a little bit early, and But this vehicle is a $40 vehicle, $40 value, 275 pieces. And boy, oh boy, does it pack a lot into that $40 price point. So let's go through kind of like an overview of the vehicle. This is a 6-legged, 12-wheeled vehicle. And each of the wheels, the legs of the wheels spin 360 degrees. So you get that full rotation there. It is a very large looking vehicle. It has some, just popped something off. This is the second time I've done that. It's supposed to be a drill that's on the end of one of these fingers, these arms, these probing arms that you can use. And one of the probing arms, by the way, they use the ball joints here, the Mixel's ball joints, which are really nice to be able to use here. So they use these ball joints to be able to give you all kinds of range of motion up front, to be able to get down to the ground, to be able to get even further out, to the side and stuff like that. So you have a drill on your left one, and then you have could it be sonar, perhaps? You've got a little dish type object here that is used, a handheld metal detector, I guess, is what they would be used for originally, but that is clearly not what this is for here. But I like the use here, and it does work well. You can maneuver that around, and obviously the hands of this thing, I'm going to use that term loosely, the arms of this thing here can be maneuvered around to however you want. Not my favorite part of it, but it still looks really, really good. So as you look at this thing from the front, what they did is the build was actually kind of fun for this part. They have two very large windshields. One is the right side up and one is upside down to be able to give you a nice little connection point here at the front. Just give you for your driver, for your pilot of this thing, because it doesn't fly. But when I mean pilot, I mean, you're on the moon, man. It's a whole nother world. But you have that, and it allows the pilot or driver to be able to kind of see downward, down below in the front there where these arms are basically connected at, so they get a great visual. Just beyond that, obviously, you have your pirate. I got pirate on the brain. I was building some old pirates yesterday. But you've got your pilot's area in here. It's got some prints in here of the different consoles and such of that, you're going to be using just little keypads in here. And then it also does have the newer printed console pieces to the rear, which you can either have your console or your driver there, or else you can have one of the other two astronauts that are going to be used here in the set to sit at, one at each terminal or one. But there is enough room in there. There is a 6 stud wide space in there, so that is good as well. Now, the door openings of this thing on each side they use the newer, I say newer, but they use the newer airlock type piece here that has Technic receiving holes, has some studs on the top. There's 4 studs on the top, and it's only 1 brick wide. It's very tall, obviously, but they use those on the side, and then they are covered with these little dishes on robot arms. So I kind of like that idea, and I was kind of skeptical about the robot arms being used to cover the sides, but there is a reason to it, and now I know why. Originally building this, I was like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. But up on the roof, you have an antenna with a dish, a satellite dish that is up there. You have what is supposed to be like lights up here. And then you also have a sloped print here, a 2x2 slope that, it's beautiful. It has the newer style classic space or space type print on it. It has the color of the moon, 2-tone color of the moon, the blue, and then the red Lego type spaceship that is circling it. So I do like that as well. As you move towards the rear, because the entire top assembly comes off, and it actually comes off with the doors in place. But as you move towards the rear, you have a cargo bay, and your cargo bay can be used for your whatever you're pulling out of the ground, your samples, or you want to put your astronauts in there. I actually stored my astronauts in there. I thought it was a cool idea to do that. You put one on one side, you put one on the other. But they have dual opening doors on each side. There are sticker solar panel prints. As you get through this line, this wave of sets here, because there are 4 of them, majority of them have stickers. Some of them have a new print for the solar panels, which I do like that as well. So yeah, on the inside, you have the spot for them to sit and be maneuvered around the moon or whatnot. There's also a glass window that you can look out the back. And then there is a clickable platform that is able to be moved up, down, straight out, depending on however you want to do it. It does have some clips on it. So if you want to put some equipment on there or whatever you want to do for, connecting to it, whatever you would love to put on it. So some of the other things, well, really the only other thing that comes with it, the minifigs are kind of even accessories as well because they have jetpacks and stuff like that on it. But you do get this little like moon built crater here. It does have the new space logo on it. And it does come with these brand new rock pieces, which are dual molded. They are in that kind of gunmetal gray color here. And then they have some trans blue that's in here. On the inside of this one, you are expected to open it and you find a gem piece that is in there. It's not, it's more of like a crystal type piece, not a gem piece. But those look fantastic. And then, that sits there. You can actually use the arms here. You could pretend to pop it off if you so choose, or, you've got a shovel on one of your astronauts. They can do it however you want to do it. But what is nice is once you do get this thing, you can stick it. There is a receiving stud on the backside, and you can actually put your rock here, your meteorite, whatever it might be. You can put that on the back and let it be transported that way. Or if you wanted to, see, I did this earlier. You can remove I think it's a 2x6 tile that's up here. You can remove that, which is just a bridge between the middle section and the rear section for stability. But you can move that to be able to drop it down there in the middle in that cargo area if you so choose. That is completely up to you. Some of you are going to be like, that's not how you do it. That's not what it's for. But whatever. It is what it is. So I will say the maneuverability of this vehicle is fantastic. I shot a video of this and I sent it to April B. And I was like, April, look at this. Oh my God, this is so incredibly amazing. It is unbelievable how this thing moves around so flawlessly, so effortlessly. And it what it really does, it's a decently sized vehicle. It's swooshable because you can get your hands around it, but oh my God, it just moves so flawlessly. I don't ever recall a vehicle doing this. You know, it's exquisite. I absolutely love it. One of my favorite things of this line. There are going to be many, but man, this is definitely up there. So let's talk about minifigs, and then we will I want to share with you how this thing attaches to another set. So you do have a minifig guy here, and he is your driver, your pilot that is maneuvering this vehicle around. Again, space symbol on here, but he's wearing a nougat colored jacket. I really do like that. That looks really, really sharp, actually. Some good darker printing on him as well. And then he's got the blue legs. I think this is Dark Azure, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. He comes with a hat. He doesn't come with really anything else. But you do get a spaceman here. You do get the new space pack type piece that goes underneath the head when you assemble it. He comes with a printed slope piece on the back as well. That new beautiful printed slope that everybody's going to be after, especially you space people. Even if you're not a modern space people, you're going to be after it. He's got some lights that come on his pack as well. And then he's got the newer, they aren't brand new, but the newer molded helmet that has the black kind of in the back where it's meant to be kind of that accordion feel to it. I really like these helmets are awesome. His print and the other astronaut's print are exquisite. I'm going to see if I can get his head off here because it's kind of a pain in the butt. But what they have on the legs, it's white legs and then it's a white top, but I think, are the arms dual molded? I think they might be dual molded here with that blue. But the space suits look absolutely amazing. There's some really, really nice detail on the front and back for these. I really appreciate the color scheme here. Again, the darker azure color. I love the way that looks. It just really sells it. Plus, he's got my face. I mean, he's got my face as minifig head. So I love it. I absolutely love this. So moving on, he also comes with a hairpiece as well, so as they all do these days. Moving on to the female, it's this same print on her torso. She only has one face as well. She's kind of got a smirk type face that is going on. The only difference with her pack is she has a saw and she has a shovel. She comes with a ponytail, yellow ponytail hairpiece as well. Now, how this thing connects. This thing actually connects to the moon base. It's not called the moon base. We'll get to it. I think it's called the lunar base. But it connects to the moon base. You can lift up one of the doors, and I will explain as best I can on how it connects because it is super amazing on how it is done. Really interesting design from the base part to connect it to this. It is flawless. All right, the next one we have here, we're doubling in price, by the way. It is definitely going to start getting expensive very quickly. The next one, 60349, it is the Lunar Space Station. Now, that is different than the Lunar Research Base is what I was referring to where this vehicle connects. However, it is an $80 price point, but it does have 500 pieces, believe it or not, which... I'll be honest, I really did not see that coming. I really did not expect that to be the case, but I was pleasantly surprised when I realized that was the case. So let's spit about this thing. This thing is really wicked, and it's actually really large in size, and this is probably the most swooshable thing out of the line, even for an adult hand. This is absolutely perfect. I actually feel like I'm not going to break this. It's the first time in a while where I've actually come across something and been like, oh, I'm going to be just fine. But in all seriousness, this is really cool. So let's talk about what this thing has to offer. So first off, what you are getting is you get kind of a main center living area that has some fold out beds, and I'll talk about all that stuff here in a moment. But you have this big, large, kind of spherical, almost hexagonal type living section that is going on. In the front of, just in front of that, there is another airlock type hatch deal going on here, that piece. And you have a little jettison pod capsule that is used here. Stickers on the window, on the windshield, obviously, the space symbol and the thrusters, the forward thruster or aft thruster, whatever you want to call it. And then you've also got a printed console piece here. And sorry, there's no printed space colored type piece in here. But he does come with this little chest that actually fits in the pod that has a crystal in it, which is kind of odd to me why it would be in there, but I don't know. I'm not quite sure. But on the rear end of this thing, you have some tiles that are clipped in here that have more solar panel pieces. They use that dark blue here, and then they use some gold and dark blue to really give it that color. It really works well. It comes with two Technic pins that connect this thing into the main living section. And then it comes with a 2x2 printed round not printed, orange translucent round tile, domed tile to simulate like a thruster or the fire, but there's not fire in space, right? Anyway, so that's what that is for. Just above that, you have a satellite dish that is here that can be rotated around and forward and back. So that's nice as well. So getting into the main living section, there are 4 giant glass pieces that are clicked into place, the click joints on each side that allow you access to the living facility on the craft. On the bottom section on each side, there are 2 fold-out beds, which are really kind of neat. One of them has a screen, these are stickers, by the way, has a stickered screen that has some minifigs on screen and some writing, which I can't quite make out, but it looks like they're like in a Zoom call or something like that, like, hi, Mom and Dad, or maybe they're people on the ground, but they don't have any like NASA or space attire on, so I'm not quite sure. And then on the other side, somebody else is listening to some tunes. There's a music note there. So this is on the lower section. Now, as you move to the next section, which is pretty much the main section of the living area, you have a gem, what is supposed to be like some kind of gem that is on a display here. I think maybe they're measuring it or they're doing some kind of scientific work to it because the stickered piece behind it is showing something, maybe it's chemical makeup or something like that. There's also some handles that are here on each side. There's 2 on each side because, again, you're floating in space. And even if there is a simulation of gravity, you still need handles when there isn't, when something fails or whatnot. There is also a clip in here, multiple clips in here so that you do have spots to clip things in, hang things, whatever. So across from that section, what you have is you have some plants. Let me rephrase here. You have a green leaf piece that appears to be as if it's on a plate. And then you have a water bottle or what appears to be a water bottle. And you have a banana sitting on the adjacent side. And then you have some cutlery and a space, to me, it looks like a space pancake. It's a pancake made out to look like the space logo, which is, I think that's kind of interesting. So again, you're simulating what the gravity might be in here. It's all fun. I really like that. So I'm going to close those up. Those are actually done really nice. On the top, we have another piece up here that is a solar panel, which obviously, like I said, solar panel. As we move back, this is where you can actually start taking sections apart. They use an inverted 2x2 slope here to connect from the bottom and then on each 2 of these segments that I'm going to talk about. And then they use a 2x2 plate up top as well to do the same. So before we get to that, just on the very top behind the main fuselage, the living quarters, you have this Technic arm that is all built up that has a click joint on the end, has some stickers on it on the flag type pieces that say clamp. And connected to this, you have another moon rock or meteorite or whatever you want to do, same as the last one we talked about. And when you open this one up, it's got the exact same thing that you have on the inside, but it is cool because it actually does it actually does stud into place. It does connect into place on this clamp the way it's done. The clamp doesn't do anything, it's just for show. So when you start to take some of this stuff apart, which is what I'm in the process of doing here. But when you start to take some of this stuff apart to be able to get access, it's super duper simple. It's not difficult at all. It does come with some legs that are on here on the rear that are built up by 2x2 round bricks here, which are fine. That's just fine for me. Anyway, so you leave the main fuselage area to the next area, which you could consider like a storage area, or maybe it's like a decompression area or whatever. But you have that. The doors open on the side for that. Again, another stickered panel piece up top. And then as you get to the very rear end of this thing, here's by far my favorite mechanism probably ever done by Lego. So you have this section. It's really built up. It doesn't look like there's anything in it, but there is. This is where you are getting the actual large printed tiled pieces, modified tiles that have clips on them or bars on them to clip in. This is where you're actually getting those. They're huge. They're in that nice gold color, and then they have the blue because obviously the plastic is blue and the print is the gold. But these are hanging out there. They are exquisitely done. They can be rotated, each arm on each side can be rotated 360 degrees around. It's really nice. And then you have this little capsule opening, this little door up top, this space bridge type deal. And inside of there, you have a little, well, what I would call some kind of, remote device, remote controlled type device that is in here. And it does have some click joints that are attached to it. And those you're just clipping into the bottom here. Now, the interesting thing here, on the rear end of this, you do have simulated, rockets again as well. But this is so cool to do. This is so stinking cool to do. So when you pull down on the panels here, on these arms, what that does is that pushes, because it's all a Technic mechanism arm assembly on the inside. What that does is that allows this piece that is in here, this remote controlled, I don't know if it's a vehicle or it looks like a ghost trap from Ghostbusters is what it reminded me of. Like, that's the closest thing that it comes to my mind. And when you press these down, the door opens and you can launch this thing up into the air if you would like. I mean, that is completely up to you, but I thought it was really cool. I think it's a really neat idea. I don't know. There's just something about it. I thought it was a good little play feature here to be able to use. I thought it was really cool. So you have that. It's a lot of fun. I mean, it is a toy after all. It is a toy. So you do have to keep that in mind. I don't want to hear, "Oh, that sucked. That was horrible, man. I don't even know what you're talking about. That was the worst experience ever." It's a toy. Deep breaths. Hold, calm down, find your Zen place, something like that. But it was a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. It's an enjoyable little experience to be able to play with something like this and just kind of mess about, and then just maybe even give you an idea of what we could be in for some of the lunar stuff. Obviously, Lego is taking liberties here. So that is all of that. The minifigs that come with this, we are going to have the same exact spacesuits for two of the spacemen here. On these, one of them holds the same, by the way, these backpacks are the exact same piece. The one has the slope with the print on it and then clips on the side. The other one has like an EVA type suit that actually has what is supposed to be like simulated, bursts of I guess they use oxygen up in space. And then it has a sticker on the back. Sorry, it is not a print. It is a sticker. This guy does come with a camera. This gal, I should say. I just took her helmet off. But you do get a gal and you do get a guy, and you get the guy that has a smirk, just a smiley face, and then the other one where he's got a really big smiley face. And then obviously they come with their own hair, as does the other astronaut, which we'll talk about here in a moment. But I do like these. It works for me. They're really sharp looking. They did a really, really good job here. Now, you do have some astronauts that are supposed to be, I guess, on the inside of the ship and staying inside. They're not leaving. They're not going out to go do anything. I want to say this hairpiece for this guy here is new. I just want to say that it's new because it looks super duper new. It's supposed to be like super duper curly hair. He only has one face because it doesn't come down far enough in the back. But just kind of a bland little smile for him. But he's in that dark azure color here. Nice printing. Again, you have the logo, and then you have what is supposed to be, I guess, his rank, perhaps, on his chest, which is nice as well. You do get a female here as well. She's wearing glasses. And I got to admit, there's not a whole lot of difference between her mouth. Her mouth is slightly cracked, and then her lips are together on the other one, but it's the difference in the eyebrows, and that's it. I had to look at it probably 5 or 6 times. I'm like, it's like one of those things like a seek and find. Like, well, what's different about this picture? Well, this is different. But her hair looks nice as well. I do like her little bob cut that she has here. And then she has a little handheld drill. Now, the new minifig here that we haven't talked about so far, you do have this lovely female that is in the newish color, the orange color here. I absolutely love this. She's got those blue azure hands, those dark azure hands, which I absolutely love. She has a smiley face on one side, and then her eyes are closed on the other side. I don't know, maybe she's dreaming as she's in space, but instead of coming with a gold visor, it comes with a blue visor. These are usually the ones that are used. These astronauts are the ones that are usually used in the rocket pods and the ship and the shuttle and all that kind of stuff, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. So I really like the way this is done. It really looks sharp. I really like the printing on this. They did a really, really good job. Just, again, killer minifig to go along with a really neat set. So for the value, I mean, what you're getting here, I honestly think it's truly and honestly worth it. $80 is steep, I know. But if you're looking to buy space stuff, or you're looking to get into space, or maybe your kid or significant other is looking to get into space, or maybe you're just looking to get into space. It's really some really cool stuff here, especially with this. And then just adding it to the wave. I love that they capped it at 4 sets, but I think $80 is probably worth it. The rear end of this, I wish, like that middle section from the living quarters until the part to the rear end where the panels help pop out that piece. I wish there was a little bit more there, perhaps, but I guess I can't complain too much. I can't be a complete jerk about it. I think there's enough here, honestly, to sustain that value. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back to the action in a moment. So let's move on to the next one here, the Lunar Research Base 60350. It has a $120 price tag and 786 parts. So not bad, especially when you talk about the giant parts, but we'll see. So let's talk about it. So the nice thing about this is you get a bunch of little different things, and then you get a giant thing that you get to be able to play with and have a lot of fun with. So let's talk about the little tinkery type stuff first. My least favorite of the vehicles has to be this 4-wheeled monstrosity that has a plow that is on the front that is able to be angled completely to each side and then lifted up and down via a click joint. Has some big old wheels on this puppy as well. A small little frame that comes with it, a light, and then some joysticks to be able to maneuver this thing around on the lunar surface. It's not horrible, but it is playable. It is fun to use, especially with the plow piece that is in the front, because you can imagine you're, digging up things on the lunar surface or whatever. The other thing that comes with this is, I'm going to call it a research cart, because that's what it just kind of reminds me of. But it's not just a research cart. It's actually a drill. It is a 4-wheeled vehicle as well, has a light that is on it, and has these 2 glass pieces that have solar stickers on them. And then it's got this little maneuvering mechanism. It's just a Technic piece that is sticking down through the center of this plate. And you're like, well, what on earth is this thing being used for? So what you have to imagine is you are driving over an area Now, I'm assuming, yeah, it's electric. Duh. I was going to say, I'm assuming it's not gas powered because stupid me. It's just been that kind of day. Anyway, so you drive over the area and it has this little spear piece that is in the bottom. But when you turn the turntable up top, it turns the spear piece at the bottom, which is supposed to be the drill, simulating you drilling and, finding whatever, moon rocks, minerals, materials, anything like that. I think that was kind of neat. It's just nice to have something different, something cool like that. So I like the little vehicle. Then we get this little, think of it as like a quadcopter, but with rockets on it. And it's stinking awesome looking. And then it also has a little spot on here that allows you to roll up and down a rope, or tether, I guess you might want to call it, that has a claw on the end that is able to be used. You can use the claw, or you can actually use a hook. So either way, it's something still fun to be able to use. So with that in mind, what you have here, you have some prints or some stickers on here, but what you do is you're flying this thing around and maybe it's picking up samples and flying it back to the base. Or it's picking up samples and, or maybe you can want to pretend that you want to put a camera on it or actually put a camera on it and, fly it around and you're scoping out the area and you're like, oh, look, I found this giant, rock over here. Let's go see what's inside of it. So you do that. You go over to your rock that you found in this smaller crater and stuff like that. And you're like, oh, there's some kind of gem or crystal in here. Oh, wait, this one's different because it has a 1x1 tile on it that has like an amoeba. It's got some bacteria, whatever you want to consider this as a print on here on this translucent tile. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is so stinking neat. You do get extra tiles, by the way, for the off chance that you lose them. And they are in the other set, I think, as well after this that we'll talk about. But I love that. So cool. Absolutely love the idea of that. You can take analysis on it and do all kinds of sciencey stuff on it. It's just, I love it. And then we also have this other smaller piece before we get to the actual main section of the build, the meat of the build. And what you have here is you have a lunar surface landing module / rocket / whatever. It has 4 landing feet, which are able to be maneuvered like crazy. There's a clip landing foot on the bottom that can be moved around. The actual arm itself can be moved around. The arm can be pushed up and down. There are 3 different ways to maneuver, actually 4 technically, if you want to talk about side-to-side rotation, to be able to maneuver this thing around to get this thing to stand however you want. Maybe you want it to stand more aggressively or not. Maybe as you take off, you want to be able to touch the feet on the ground as you go. But either way, just above that, you have some more stickers of solar panels. You've got a ladder that allows you to be able to get into the actual craft piece itself up in the front, the cockpit. It only has room. Well, I guess you could say it has room for 2 minifigs if you sit them there, maybe back to back, maybe not. Probably not be the best, but there's really nowhere to store their equipment right there, right? I need a spot so that I can store all my goodies and not have to worry. I mean, it's kind of a big deal, right? I kind of need that. It's a massive deal. But anyway, so you have room for your minifigs in there and glass piece as well. Same stickers as we saw in the last set. Now, what I thought was really neat is you do have these, I guess they're supposed to be, solar panels is not the right idea, but they have these gold pieces here. And they're lids to, you can just imagine it being a lid to something. And I don't know what you would use it for. Maybe you want to imagine it's your thruster. You want to push it downward because they can rotate and lift up and down and stuff like that. So there are ways to be able to maneuver this thing to have, some fun with it. Anyway, so on the bottom side of this, you have 4 simulated propulsion jets and you have this giant fire piece. Yes, a fire piece that is in here. And what this fire piece does is when you are sitting on the lunar surface, it's not doing anything. It is just sitting there. It's up inside. You can't see it. But as you pretend you're lifting off, this rocket fire piece pops out, and it's just there on a Technic axle, and it has a point at which it stops. But that is so neat. The playability with that is awesome. It can swoosh around. You can imagine, I'm going to put the legs kind of in a more of a downward position now because I'm flying through the air or whatever. Oh, it's so cool. It's absolutely neat. I love the way that was done. I thought it was something really just different in a way of speaking, just totally different. I just really like the way that turned out. So you have that piece. I'm going to set that buddy off to the side here. And now we're going to get into the main build, because the main build is where the money is in this. The money is good for the other things, but the money is important here, especially if you want to connect this to something else. So this lunar base that you have here, the research base, obviously, you have a giant bubbled dome for the main section, the centerpiece. And then underneath that, you have this, think of it like a Star Wars type utility bay where you can bring in craft, lunar vehicles and such and store them. And this is meant to look as if it's built into a rock side. You have a bunch of rock pieces here, not a bunch, a few. I think there's 2 bigger rock pieces here that are kind of built up a little bit. But you have that. And on the very top, though, the very top of this thing is so awesome. You have these giant glass pieces, these bluish glass pieces that are up here that are able to be folded down to be able to get access to play and all that, because play is number one. So on the inside, you have 4 different sections of this. You have one section that has a bed and has a microfig that is sitting here. You have a coffee cup on a table. You have a bowl on another, maybe for some noodles. It looks like a noodle bowl like we usually see. And then you have another bed here. And then you have a print that says I with a heart. And then HLC, the letters HLC, which is Heart Lake City. That came new in the friend sets this year, but I thought that was kind of neat. I'm like, maybe we're getting a nod to some Lego Friends space stuff. Could we? Maybe, possibly. And then on the opposite side of that, the adjacent side to that, you have a carrot that is up on a chopping block and has a pair of scissors here. I'm not quite sure what you're using the scissors for, but that has that as well. I don't suppose you don't really need a knife up in space, but maybe you do. And then on the opposite side, the adjacent side as well. Words are hard. You have this little veggie garden where you've got plants that are growing in different stages. You have some that have quite a lot of foliage and then some flowering and some sprouting and, some stems sticking up. And then you have this piece that is supposed to be a gem. I'm assuming that is supposed to be, this crystal is supposed to be something like a water feature or something like that. It's something that's giving off liquid, whether it be off into the air or whatnot. So then you can close this puppy up if you want, or you can leave it open. But in the center, there's a little piece where, it's technically connected. When I don't mean technically as in, actually it is connected, like Technic connection, but in a Technic way of sorts that allows you to be able to remove the top and get access to the lower portion of the port that allows you to, you want to put your vehicles in there. You could imagine that you're using your little hydrocopter, your quadcopter type thing with the rockets on it. You could lower things down in there. You could pick up vehicles with it. You could actually attach it to this other vehicle, the one that has the drill. You could attach it with that one. You can attach the other one as well. There's just a whole lot of things that you could do. Now, down on the inside of this thing, you kind of have like a semi-workshop space. You kind of have an area where you can park one of your vehicles or both, depending however you want to do it. And then you have some racks with some tools and stuff like that that are able to be used in here. So the next part of this is if you are looking at it from the part where you are driving into the side of this moon mountain type base, you have a left side and a right side. And on the right side, you have access from the lower portion of where you're parking your vehicles and stuff. You walk through the airlock. And by the way, these are all Technic pinned in, so all you got to do is pull them apart. But you get access to in here. This just lifts off. It's actually only held on by 4 little studs, which is actually really nicely done. And then on the inside here, you have a microscope. You have this little type beaker that is connected by a telephone to a glass vase over top of the new bacterial piece print that is found there. And then you have a door on the other side that allows you to get out into the expanse of space if you so choose, which I don't know why you would want to do in there because it's not airlocked. So that is really nice. On the top of this, though, however, you have something that looks like a hatch that might open. It does not. It does have some solar panels on it, stickers again, a sticker logo piece for the new space theme for Artemis. And then you have this giant transmission satellite dish that is up here and a light as well. Now, on the other side, the part that sticks out, what you have is you have another airlock spot to crawl in through, and you have one large section here that is connected, and the other section, actually, you don't want to take it apart because it actually has a primary function, a primary purpose. But you remove the top, the section is identical to the other one. And what you can put in here, you can put your helmets. There's a clip in here. You can put a tool. There's also a printed 2x2 tile in here where you can put in, or you can imagine there's, I don't know, it's giving you specs on your equipment or whatever you want to imagine it as. Now, what I do like is the top of each of these sections, there is a green light and a red light that is used on all of these sections. And you can imagine, all right, it's a green light. It's clear. The airlock is safe. You can open it or not. Now, I'm going to stick this entire assembly back on here in a moment. But what I wanted to touch on is this outer exterior leg that is sticking off. Again, more stickers for solar panels, but you have this kind of open air design on the other leg here on the outside. You have a hatch here that opens and closes just like the rest of them. And then you have two of those pieces that are used as like the airlocks, the rigid piece that is in here that we talked about on all of these little modules. And what this does is this is clipped into place on one side and clipped into place on the other side, but it also uses click joints on the bottom side of the side closest to the main assembly, the base. And what this does is it either clicks and locks into place up or it clicks into place locking down. But there's so many tiles here, and it essentially on the inside is all you have is this bridged type walkway that is enclosed. Now, when it is down, you have the door closed and it's not a big deal, But if you grab your rover set and you pull your rover up, you pull this thing up, you open the door of your rover, you open the door of the landing area and the tunnel area, and you connect them. And they don't actually connect via Technic pin. They actually sit there and hold together because of the click joint on the assembly itself. It just rests there. You can imagine your guys are coming in and out. Now, you got to have super duper tiny fingers to be able to do that, but you can actually slide them down the little walkway here. It's actually something fun to do. Obviously, the littler your fingers are, the easier it is to do. Once your guys either are in or out, putting them up the ramp is a lot more difficult, obviously. I tried once and I was like, nope, no, I'm good. But you have that option. It's a play feature. It's a play function, and it's a lot of fun to use. I really, truly, honestly did enjoy it. It's one of my favorite things about this set specifically. And then obviously the bulbous top, which opens kind of like a flower, which is really neat the way it is done. Just some really cool stuff here in the way this is all configured, and just a lot of fun to be able to play with. And again, it connects to a set. This is the only other set that it is technically supposed to be connected to, but I'm sure you can find ways to connect other sets as well. So let's talk about minifigs, because you get a number of minifigs here as well. And, well, I mean, they're kind of identical to pretty much everything that we've gotten, to this point, I guess you could say. They're very, 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 very similar in nature with the rest. So let's start with our exterior dudes here. We have 4 astronauts that are exterior astronauts, and they are dressed alike. They all have the new printed piece here of that slope on the back side. Only one of them has 2 clips on it. The others do not. So it's kind of a waste in my opinion to a certain degree. One of them is carrying a video game controller piece that has an antenna sticking up off of it. Maybe some kind of communication piece or whatever. By the way, these spacesuits are identical to the rest that we have already discussed, that we have already talked about. So I'm not going to get into any more detail about those. But he only has one face as well. And what he has on his face is just kind of he seems like a pleasant dude. Not overly happy, not angry, just a pleasant dude. Your other astronaut here comes with a metal detector, which we saw on the arms of the rover, which is actually kind of neat. And you have a female fig here, and I love her print of her face. She has a smirk on the one side, and then she has a winky face on the other. I like the way that is done. Very nice. And then we move on to the female with the clips on the back. She has the eyes closed smile and the mouth open, eyes open smile. So let's see. What else do we have here? We've got a lot of stuff. By the way, they all come with their separate hair pieces, all of our astronauts. We've got this last astronaut. It's the same one in the orange and the blue that we had talked about before. And similar face as the last minifig. They're almost identical. Now, this is almost like he's supposed to be an older astronaut because his beard is kind of grayed, whereas the other one is all black. So imagine he's kind of older. They look identical. It could be father, son. Maybe they're on a mission together. That would be kind of neat. A little play idea behind it. Then we move on to the interior astronauts here. Same stuff, same exact print as the other interior astronauts with that dark azure color. We have a minifig here that's got his smiling face with his somewhat of a beard growing, more of like a 5 o'clock shadow. And he's got his mouth closed on one side and he's very happy on the other side. He actually comes with a spoon. You can use a spoon with him. Maybe he's getting ready to eat some astronaut ice cream, which is actually cool. Had that in elementary school. I'll never forget it. And then we move on to our female character here. She has a mobile device, which appears to look like an iPhone or something similar. And then she's got a face on one side with the newer type safety glasses that are going on here. And then a shorter haircut for her as well. As a whole, I really like what this set has to offer. You have a little play set here. You've got a little base that is going on where you can stage your vehicles. You've got flying things here. You've got things that can connect to another set. So, hey, you're looking, you're like, all right, the 120, the 80, there's $200. These go together. They work really well together. You've got your moon rock that's going on. You get the bacteria piece. It's unfortunate that you have to wait until this set to be able to get the bacteria piece because of that price point, but it's a really nice one as well. So I really like what this set has to offer. I think it does a lot more than what most people might expect just from looking at it from the exterior. But the play functionality with it, with the rope piece that is here with the claw and being able to maneuver vehicles and stuff, it's a nice little setup. It's a nice little play set. Kid, adult, you can throw it into your city on your lunar base, on your lunarscape, whatever you want to do. Really, really cool stuff here. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back to the action in a moment. All right, so we move on to the last one here, and this is surely going to be one of the best sets that LEGO has done in this size in some time. Now, I know you're going to say, oh, Monkey Kid has done stuff bigger than this at the same price point. All right, let's dive into it. So the Rocket Launch Center, 60351 is the set number. It is a $150 price tag to it, and it is 1,010 pieces or parts to it. Now, this thing, although it does have a lot of parts, does have a lot of moving pieces, if you will, to it. There's a lot of small pieces to this, but there's also a lot of large pieces to kind of build up a display and an idea of what is going on. We'll talk about that here in a moment, where some of it kind of gets wonky, but whatever. So let's talk about what you have. You have a rocket. You have a little base area that you can put in your vehicle. And then you also have your tower where you are shooting the rockets off. You know, you're watching what's going on. And then you have your rocket stand launching assembly as well. So let's talk small. Let's start with the small stuff. What you've got here is you've got a little robot that can be used. And this robot comes with a light brick built in, and you can maneuver his legs around. You can maneuver his arms around. His arms only go up and down, and then you could turn the hands side to side. So on the top of it, it says clamp. You can use it with the other vehicle that I'm about to talk to here in a moment, where it has a clampable arm that is on a ball joint, and it's Technic build. You can use that to pick it up and put it on the vehicle. You can put your little robot on there, unclip him, and he's good to go. Now, he does not have a studded ability to be clipped into place or studded into place, but that doesn't mean that you can't, because they have built this in a Technic with some modified tiles that allow you the option to be able to store it in the back if you so choose, or you can store one of the other vehicles, the other vehicle in the back as well. It is completely up to you. There's another lunar-esque type vehicle that can be stored there as well. So the robot is really neat. I really like the way this is done. You can use him to go up to lunar rocks. Like if you want to send him into space, you could do it like that. And you could pretend you want to see what's on the inside, and nothing really glows. It doesn't really do anything super awesome, amazing, but it's just something else to play with. So I'm going to scoot him to the side here. Let's talk about our other little vehicle here. We've got this little moon buggy type thing that is going on here. Now, this does go inside of the rocket. As you're launching this thing, there is a separate cargo bay specifically for this little doodad, and it's actually really cool. So you have different compartments for different things, and I'll touch on that in a moment. But this is just a four-wheeled vehicle, little windscreen or makeshift windscreen, and a steering wheel. There's not much to it. Then we have this little ground vehicle that is used on the launch area from the mission control type area. And it has the arm on it, like I had mentioned. It comes with a fire extinguisher as well. This is actually a pretty decently built 6-stud wide vehicle. Can fit 2 minifigs. Has a windscreen type bar with it. Some lights on the front. Not a whole lot really going on, but a nice little support vehicle to go along with what you're doing. Now, one of the other things that I was kind of confused about here, and I don't really know what's going on with this because it's just kind of bizarre. Now, you have the ability with your vehicle that I just talked about, with that arm on it, to pick up a moon rock that is in a kind of like a little crater, same as we've seen with the other sets. Now, what's odd is that this can be picked up, but the plate assembly that this is built on has little fire pieces, which I'm not quite sure what's going on there, and a piece of plant. I didn't think anything grew on the moon. So I'm kind of confused about what is going on here. I don't really know what is going on here, and it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but yeah, sure, whatever, why not? So you do have that, and on the inside of your moon rock, you have another crystal that has a bacteria piece on it inside as well. So let's move on and let's talk about the launch control, because that's one of my favorite parts of this. They're all my favorite. We've seen something like this done before. Has a big satellite on top, has 3 giant glass panels on the bottom, 3 clickable opening glass panels on top, and the actual segments in between can actually be opened as well because they are just on clips, so those can be opened. So you get access to the inside. So if you want to play from the top, you can. If you want to play from the backside, you can. It is completely up to you. Now, down on the inside, we've got a bunch of stickers. We've got some massive stickers that are in here. And I'm looking at this from the rear, so from the rear, I'm going to talk about it from the right side to the left. On the right side, you have this giant, massive sticker that is in here, and it has minifigs. And then it has a line pointing to where you have a smaller version of your rocket, which is actually really cool. And it shows you where they are supposed to be in the capsule at the top. Then it has another spot, and it has the vehicle, the little moon rover vehicle, not the robot, the little moon rover vehicle. And what that is going to do is that goes in the second compartment. And then at the bottom, that has your octane symbol, and that is where your fuel or your octane is going, which is actually really neat. I like the way that's done. So it gives you an idea of where things go. It's just a nice little fun representation. Now, You have 2 chairs that are in here, and you have 2 launch control computers. Pretty simple prints that go with those. But above that, you have 2 monitors, one of which shows your rocket jettisoning, splitting apart and flying in through space, and another that has what looks to be a comet or meteorite or whatever is coming down. It's kind of interesting. See 2 different things that are going on there at the same time. And you have a yellow coffee cup, and then you have a red tile here that is supposed to be like I guess maybe an abort button, or I don't know what you would consider it to be. Now, off to the left, you have this giant bulky assembly, which is 3 studs wide. And I'm really just I'm just in awe of this thing. I am absolutely in awe of this. So you have a giant sticker, and your sticker has a picture of I think this is supposed to be a picture of the moon, or maybe it's the Earth, but it looks like it'd be the polar caps or something like that. Anyway, I'm going to call it the moon, and then it shows a comet or a meteorite and another planet and a bunch of stars off in the distance in the dark sky. Now, in between that, you have a clear area of this sticker that is rounded in between those 2 spots, obviously because a planet or whatever, a star, not a star, the moon is a sphere. And what you have here is you have a little 1x2 tile that is connected just via technic mechanism, something super simple, and it has a picture of your rocket, the actual rocket that you are going to be shooting off into space. And on the other side, it has a little gear. And what the gear wheel does is when you turn it forward, the rocket looks like it's flying over or in its pattern. It is so stinking cool. It's something simple, but I just love the way it's done. Super duper neat. And then you have one of your minifigs that is in here. She is, I guess, the launch control specialist or whatever. She has a unique print. I'm going to cover this while we're here with her, and then we can get to some of the other minifigs. But she's got some glasses that hang down just below her eyes. She has a mouth that's wide open and happy, and the other side, she's just got a smile. But the print on her torso is by far really cool. She's got a badge that's going on here that says ID. She's got some pins in there. She just looks official, like she is supposed to be here. And that's the goal, right? Hey, I work here. I don't work at Lego. I work at Space Lego. God, imagine how long it's going to take before there's a space Lego depot on the moon or something like that. Can only imagine how long. Not long at all, right? So the next one that we're going to talk about here, the next assembly is, well, what good would it be if we didn't have a telescope, a giant telescope to look at the things in the sky? So that's what we've got. But before we get into that, we've got a lower assembly build, and the assembly is kind of built up. It's kind of bulky in the way that it is done. It's a maintenance area. It's a garage storage area. It actually does have a garage door that does go up and down, so that is nice. Your observatory up top can spin around. There is a palm tree because we're in warm climate. And then you also get a dual molded parrot, blue and yellow parrot here. So let's talk about the observatory and what we've got here. You've got an option to be able to spin this thing around, maneuver at 360 degrees. It has the same exact panels as the lunar base that opens, except these are opaque. They are in the white. So you can open this, and you have a whole big play set on the inside. You have a little drone that can be used. You want to take some footage or whatnot. You have a microscope that is, well, it's a microscope in the sense that it's just a magnifying glass piece here, but it's meant to magnify your bacteria piece. So you can actually look at it in greater detail. It's actually really neat in the way that is done. And then what you have is you have your giant telescope assembly that is taking up the majority of this. Now, you have a spot where you can stand a minifig or you could sit them. You have a keyboard. Your controls are the little 1x1 round tiles that have a bar sticking out of the top. So you're imagining putting your hand on there or whatever you're going to do with that. And then what you have on your computer screen, you have, so this is just me here. This is just me. You have a sticker here, but it looks like a fish's mouth, in my opinion. It looks like a fish in a fish's mouth smiling. It's absolutely awesome looking. It has that magenta color that is on there with all the stars and stuff. I don't know what they're looking at. Found a new galaxy or something. It's super duper neat. Now, the other thing that we've got here is you do have your telescope, and it actually does function. There is a worm gear that is used in here, and it can be lifted up and down, tilted up and down. It does not go completely straight up, but none of them do, from my understanding. But you do have access to it, whether you want to access it while the pieces are closed or while they're open. Now, obviously, it's only going to turn so far before it locks. You don't want to strip out the plastic, so just make sure you're careful if you're being too wild and crazy with it. Anyway, so that lifts up and down. It's a really neat idea. It's a really neat little part of your set. You can put your ground vehicle in here. You can put your little robot in here if you want. You could just, you're working on the lunar vehicle before it takes off, whatever you want to do. Now we get into the real meat. When I say the real meat, I'm talking about the rocket, the ship, and the base of it. So what we've got here, oh goodness, y'all are going to die with happiness when you see this. When you see this on shelves, you're going to be like, oh my God, I kind of need it. So let's talk about the base that this actually sits on. Now, for all intents and purposes, it is kind of bland, but there are some nice little details to it. All right. So what we've got, they've got a bunch of big chunky type pieces that are used here to shore this up, attach it to a Technic frame, or Technic blocks that are on the bottom, using a Technic support frame kind of in between and some plates along with that. It really works well. But this is an elevator here in the inside of this. And what the elevator is used for, obviously, is to elevate your peeps. You want to get your peeps to the top of the rocket, and there is a spot for them to stand. Now, you take it down to the bottom, you wind it up, and you get to the very top, and we are ready. Folks, we are ready to do the darn thing. We are ready to get jiggy with it. We are ready to have some fun, sorry, Will Smith, and load into the rocket. There's a rocket platform up here as well that has a little gear piece that allows you to open and close it so that you have, obviously, your access here. You don't want to get things in the way and all. So once you're ready to launch, you just slide it out of the way. Boom, we're ready to launch. Now, down on the bottom, we've got a big old piece of plastic down here, and you have some tubes that are down here, and you also have some little water pieces that are sticking out. Those are supposed to be, I guess, whatever they spray at the bottom of the engines when the rockets are firing. I'm not quite sure what that is, but I love the way it's done. That's all I know. I absolutely love the way it is done. Just that extra bit of detail. All it has to be is just tiny bit of detail, but it works so stinking well. Lego just knows how to get the most out of, some of the smallest type of things. And I love it. I love the way it's done. So the other thing that we have here is your giant rocket, which, if you didn't know, you can't go to the moon without rocket fuel. And lo and behold, we have a giant octane canister that is in the bottom, on the lower section. There's 3 sections here, but it is in the lower section of this belly of the build. And it clicks right into place. It pops right there into place, and it's a nice little thing. It is very tight as I'm pushing this thing back in. This is a sticker, though. And then just below that, you have 4 beehives in gunmetal gray that have some translucent orange that is used to be the propulsion engines and stuff like that. And I believe, yes. Okay. Now, I'm going to put the cover back on here. By the way, there's darker nougat color. I love the way this is done. So I'm going to cover up that bay. I've got my middle bay that is up here. This is where your lunar vehicle goes. It actually sits nice and perfectly in there. You cover that one up. You're ready to go. That's super duper simple. Then you get to the top, and you have 2 air tanks in there that are held into place actually pretty nicely in the way that was done. And then you have your 2 rockets, your 2 astronauts that are getting ready to lift off. They're wearing the flamish orange yellow color here. I love that. Anyway, the suits are identical to everything that we've talked about so far to this point. You have a female with a smiley face. That is it. And then you have another person, this dude, he's got a pukey face, the one that we've seen with the Chinese New Year stuff or when people were eating stuff and they got the big bulgy cheeks, and then he's got a normal face on the other side. So maybe he's getting ready to blow chunks because he's like, oh my God, I don't know what we're in for here. But it has 2 little spots for your hands for minifigs to, grab on to pretend you're controlling it or whatnot. It doesn't quite work well. They're sat a little bit too far back, but there's really no other way to do it. You have 2 little printed pieces here on each side on these tiles. Same tiles we've seen with so many different things for consoles and stuff like that. Put these back on. The top of this thing can actually jettison off. You can actually take the tip off if you wanted to pretend like that's going flying into space. You do have side rockets that attach on each side, and they're just Technic pinned in, which is nice. And the assembly for these, the build for these was actually really kind of cool. I really like the way it was done. You could actually remove the top if you wanted to from the majority of the base. I don't know why you would. I don't think that's a thing. But something different. Maybe you want to pretend it's breaking apart or whatnot. But they just have NASA logoed stickers on here. Nothing printed, unfortunately. That would have been cool. But you have them on each side. Now what you have is you have this swooshable rocket. It's loaded. It's ready to go. It's got your astronauts in it. It's got your lunar vehicle in it. It's got your propulsion. Now, at the very base, where I was talking about the water piece that is here, you have a Technic brick that is sticking up here, an actually pretty long one. And it has 2 little yellow Technic pieces sticking off the side of it, the little connectors that receive pins on each side. Then you have this little plate brick-built assembly that has what looks like tubes. It's got some red tubes, some gray tubes, and it tilts backwards. Like you're like, stay put. Well, there's a reason. So what you do, you take your rocket. Everybody ready to go? Yep, let's get ready to go. Let's get the rocket into place. Once you put your rocket into place, that actually locks it into that position. It locks your tubes into that position. Now I can put my bridge up over here so that when my minifigs come up, they can walk across. They can load in there. They're ready to go. And when you're ready to launch, 3, 2, 1, blast off. When you take off, oh, I forgot to move my thing at the top. I would have destroyed the rocket or something. It just like the real thing, when these rockets take off, you see the pieces, the hoses pop off the sides and stuff like that. That is what goes on, and you go flying off into space. Go flying off into stinking space. It is so stinking neat. I absolutely love this set. I love the rocket. I love everything that comes with it. It was really nicely done. So let's talk about the minifigs, and then we'll summarize this whole big, beautiful dealio and move along and let you decide where you want to be with it from here. So we have 4 other minifigs to talk about, but 2 of them are workers that are on, they are working here for the ground crew. You have a lady with sunglasses and a nice little vest, a nice little spring green type vest that is going on here. And then you have your dude here with his orange type sunglasses, safety glasses. They have the exact same print. So you just imagine, oh, hey, they're getting in the car together, the little vehicle, and they're going to go do whatever they got to do. They got to get the little robot or whatnot. Then you have another astronaut here, but he can't fit. So he's got to stay back. Sorry, dude. You just got to stay here with everybody else. Now, maybe you want to pretend he's up in the space station or whatever. You could do that. So he's got glasses. He's only got one face, and he's just smiling. He's got some funky, pokey hair, and he is wearing the dark azure color blue here, which is, again, I love the way this looks, and it looks like he's got, pilot wings or whatever, his insignia that is on there. Then we move towards this dude, and this guy who is losing his hair, but he's got lovely locks in the back, but they're fading in the front. This guy is happy as can be. He's got a super happy face. And then he's got another face. By the way, he's got I guess that's supposed to be a goatee. But just kind of like an average, I'm content, not happy, not angry, not sad. So it's almost like, I don't know if this is going to work. We'll see. And then when the rocket launches, he's giddy. He's super giddy. So he comes with some dark nougat color for his For his pants, I love the color change here because he's got a white top, but with some dark green in there as well. He's got an ID badge as well and some pens as well. Really good minifig choices across the wave. I do like this one, and I love the female that is in launch control, mission control. I really like the way that is done. Hers is super unique. His is unique. So you get something a little bit different. You get your ground crew people. Now, as a whole, I'm going to say it. And it's not because some of you are going to say, oh, well, you're just a Lego. You never say anything bad. No, I've said bad things. I think you could find something negative with everything. Now, there were some things like I talked about with the rover, the lunar rover dealio with the arms. Wasn't my favorite thing, and that one piece keeps popping off. The antennas on top, while they look cool, are going to be nightmares to keep track of, especially for kids. They're going to break off immediately. But there's a lot of good here as a whole. You have this little ecosystem that is growing on your lunar base. You have the actual shuttle here. The rocket that is going up into space. I mean, that is wicked. That is super awesome. And then you have the giant telescope of the observatory. You've got, different things that commingle here. You have different vehicles. You have a ton of lunar vehicles. You have something to land on the moon with. You have something to roll around on the moon with. You have something that is like a drone for on the moon. You have all these moon rocks. I mean, there's a lot here. Now, if you want to pick and choose, you can absolutely pick and choose. You can be like, you know what? I like that. I don't like that. You know what? I want this. I don't want that. And I think I calculated it. I think it's like, I want to say it was like 300. I think it's 380 for the wave. So it's right there where Lego likes to keep things for a wave, around that $400 price point. I think you're getting something super solid. As a wave, I think you're getting something super awesome. I would love to see a little bit more. Now, I will say in the instructions, maybe they're prototypes as of right now, what the vehicles are going to look like before they're built, before they go. They look sharp. They look awesome. I can't wait. I'm so giddy for this. I had so much fun putting this together. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I tried to be very thorough. I tried to give you the ins, outs, uglies, things to watch out for, things to be excited about. I'm blown away by this. This blows the last space line out of the water. Doesn't even come close. It doesn't even come close, in my opinion. There were some things with that I was like, oh man, that is super neat. It just doesn't come close here. So with that in mind, do what you will with this information. Glean with it what you will. Glean from it what you will. I just hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was somewhat informative or enjoyable, spending your drive to work or whatever. And I'll be listening back to this when I make my drive to work, make sure I didn't make any errors. But with that in mind, we have some other stuff coming down the pipe. We've got the Vespa to talk about, which I've got sitting right here. It's just waiting for your ears here in the next couple of days. So give me some time. We'll get that to you. And in the meantime, I hope everyone is doing well. And until we meet again on this lovely show where I get to spend talking to you, even though you're not here. I'm so sad. As always, I'm your minifig host, Matt. Let's build on it.